Welcome back to Paranormal Perspective. I'm John Lorden, and joining me as always is...
Christy Arnhart.
This is the show where Christy does research into a paranormal or paranormal adjacent topic. She presents her case here to me and a live stream audience that's watching. We put the vote to them. Do they think this is really paranormal or not? And I kind of add my 2 cents in, being a little critical, not skeptical, just critical of the topic. Do a little research on the side, try to add some of my experience to it, and we see who comes out winning. Christy, what are we talking about today?
Today, we'll discuss a very Indiana Jones subject. It's the mystery of Houska Castle in the Czech Republic.
Ooh, I like an Indiana Jones subject. And they typically have some element of something supernatural happening in those films. What's the question that we're going to put to the audience?
Is the pit supernatural or Nazi nonsense?
Is the pit... All right, so I'll make one of the answers supernatural. Well, is there a third potential? I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a third potential. Well, no, because this is tough. I want to add a third one where it's like something else, but then I want them to tell me what that something else might be. Let's see.
We can go to the chat.
All right, supernatural, Nazi legend, something else. Yeah, I would love that. What if someone in the chat solves it? What if someone in the chat's like, no, here's the answer, and they tell us all about it?
That would be incredible.
Okay, that's how we're going to run it. Do things different because we want to. It's what we could do here.
We have to.
That's right.
Have to.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so let me start out by saying that the Czech people kept very good records of their history. I mean, way back. So the things that I'm telling you are not anecdotal. It's actually found in their histories.
Okay, I love that.
Which is a little, So Huska Castle is in the region of northern Bohemia in the Czech Republic. Now this area has a very sinister presence that has been there since way before the castle was ever built. Archaeological evidence shows that Celtic tribes lived in the area a very long time ago, and then Slavic tribes migrated there in the 6th century. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that country is amazing.
It's and so mysterious. So the first stone structure existing on the site was a small wood fort that was built back in the 9th century. This date and whatnot was taken from a chronicle, and in that same chronicle it says there's a legend about a crack in the limestone cliff face and a pit that has no end. Now the residents believe that the pit is the source of strange nightly visitations that they get and terrors that they have been experiencing.
Well, I know from previous episodes that what you're supposed to do is take a dead animal and throw it into the pit, and then it'll come back out alive. Right?
Let's not ruin this for anybody, okay?
Hey, no, I just want to say that Mel's Hole episode, I think is our most viewed episode so far.
It is.
It's insane. I don't know why, but everyone wants to talk about Mel's Hole, so I thought I'd bring it up.
It's either the hole or me talking about the nanofog, because the nanofog is still screwing me up, by the way. Okay. So the inhabitants said that creatures would come out of the pit. They were half human, half animal. Some of them weren't human looking at all. And they would just wreak havoc at night. They would kill cattle, and they would try to drag people back to the pit to change them into one of the creatures that they are. So night or day, everybody avoided this place. Everybody. They started calling it the hole to hell, which is apt. You know,
we don't have a picture of the hole,
holes and gateways
right?
to hell. I'll get to that.
Oh, okay. I just want to know if I should bring it up. Okay.
No, no.
Okay.
Holes and gateways to hell are something that we hear about all over the world. We hear about it from the Greeks. They were always finding a way into the underworld. China, the Quran says that there are 7 hellholes on the earth. So numbers vary, but we all know they're there. So naturally, eventually a Duke of the Duba clan came up with a plan to find out what was in the hole. There are two stories here. One is that he is actually the one who built Houska Castle. And he offered the builders, I'm either going to kill you because you know its secrets, or you can allow yourselves to be lowered down in this hole by a rope. Just tell us what you saw. Now, the other side of this story is that it was convicts, and this would save them from being executed. But either way, he found people to put down into the pit.
Okay.
They tried filling it with stones, by the way, just throwing all kinds of stuff down there. And like Mill's Hole, nothing would fill it. It just fell and fell forever. So the first man that they lowered down in this hole did make a sound. And they really started to wonder if they had enough rope to finish this out, because they didn't count on it being as deep as it was. Finally, the man starts to scream incoherently. So they quickly pull him up out of the hole. He was a young man when he went down. When he came up, his hair was completely white, and he was stark raving mad. They couldn't get any sense out of him, and he died later that day.
Oh, okay.
And from what I've read, everyone that they tried to lower in the hole met the same fate. Nobody elaborated, and it was just crazy insane. So then you have Huska being built up, right? Because nobody wants anything coming out of that hole. When they built the castle, as it is today, more or less, they built it on top of the cliff where the crack is. They filled that in with plaster. And the spot where the hole is, they took two huge stones and put them over it, like a doorway. They're not just big boulders, they're actually flattened out stone. Okay. Then they built the castle's chapel on top of that. And the chapel is crazy. Oh, so beautiful. I loved looking at pictures of this. Mm-hmm. So the chapel was dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who's the leader of God's armies against the hordes of hell. So naturally, you want him coming for help. The frescoes on the chapel walls are some of the oldest that you'll find in Europe. They date back to the 1400s, they believe. And it shows Michael in two scenes. In one, he's fighting a dragon, which back then was a depiction of evil. Mm-hmm. And in the other scenes, we have the crucifixion of Saint Christopher. Those are all normal. But the other ones in the chapel are not normal. One of the walls has a woman, and I have it on here.
Okay.
One of the walls has a woman centaur holding a bow, and she's using her left hand to aim the arrow to shoot it at a figure off in the distance, a humanoid figure. There we go. Now, centaurs were not something that were put into chapels because they're pagan creatures. Nobody wants to give into paganism. So just having a centaur is bad. And the fact that she's a woman, of course, makes it worse. And then you look at the left-handed shooting. At that time, anyone who was left-handed was assumed to be a devil. Yeah, they're evil, which was crazy because this was happening, 50 years ago, when people were told, no, you can't write with your left hand. Learn your right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and aside from her, on the walls, you've also got pictures of half-human, half-beast creatures. Some of the others are just like red hounds, bears, things like that, attacking villagers and whatnot. It's not a typical scene at all.
Yeah.
And this is where we get to some of the weirdness of the castle itself, because this castle is built in a wood, as you saw, that's so dense you can't hunt in it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, the trees, the foliage, everything, you just can't get through it to do anything. Not to mention the fact that this castle was built in an area that has nothing whatsoever. It is not near any border that you might be trying to protect. There are no trade routes that go near it that you can defend. The castle was built with no kitchens. Now, I realize there are usually, in plantations and whatnot, you would have your kitchen on the outside of the house so that if it caught fire, it didn't burn everything down. But the historical record, no kitchens at all built on this site. And without trade routes and you can't hunt, what's the point of having people there? Not to mention the fact that all of the defenses for the castle were built to keep something inside, not to keep someone out.
That's an interesting thought. Okay.
All of their fortifications were built for this. They had a moat. They had, you couldn't get from the top floors of the castle down into the inner courtyard unless you went all the way down and came out, because there were no stairs. The stairs were actually put in later when renovations were done. There's during the 30 Years' War in the 1600s, they took the tower, the moat, and the defenses that had been built to keep something inside out. Emperor Ferdinand III thought this was a good idea.
It's interesting because the design, there's so much lost square footage by having that big hole in the center. And what do you gain? Like, you have all these amazing views that you can see from the windows, but from anything that's facing that inner courtyard, there are some windows, but not a whole lot. And being in the inner courtyard, all you've got a view of is these crazy tall block walls and then the sky right above you. It's an interesting design. I don't know what the reason would be for designing it this way, unless it was just they didn't need square footage. They had enough in everything that was built around this, and someone thought it'd be an interesting design to just have a hole in the center of it that went all the way to the ground. I don't know.
Well, they even had fortifications in the center courtyard, and I believe it was so that if anything came out and made it out of the chapel into the courtyard, it had nowhere to go, and they could shoot arrows and whatnot down at it. It can't get to them unless it can jump that high or fly.
That's an interesting
They're at the
thing.
Top of their battlements.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not to mention about the fact
as a defensive design. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, everything in this place was designed to keep something in. I don't know, it's crazy. And I can't believe that Ferdinand actually took all that stuff down. I mean, those were the defenses built with the original castle, and they were built there for a reason. So, and another thing I wanted to say was people didn't live here. You had, small villages that were set up nearby, but nobody came near here. They did not want to be here. It wasn't set up to be any kind of residence or anything like that. They say it was originally set up to be offices, kind of a bureaucracy in there, but none of that makes sense. Because when you look at the design of the castle and the history that goes with it, there were never dignitaries who stayed there. You get someone every now and again who will come through and occupy it, but then they're gone. Because even after Ferdinand had that all tore up so it would look more welcoming and whatnot, it still sat empty. Until a Swedish mercenary leader and black magician called Oronto decided to make the castle his new residence. Oronto was reputed to be a black magician and an alchemist who performed unsavory experiments at the castle. Not only that, but during the time that he stayed there, his soldiers wreaked havoc on the countryside, on the villages, and they were terrified to begin with, because you've got someone practicing black magic with the whole to hell, and then you've got all these guys terrorizing you all the time. So 2 hunters actually came forward. They made their way into the castle and they killed Oronto. Oh, they didn't make their way in. They shot him from windows outside and they killed Oronto, and they all took care of the soldiers. So, yeah, he was definitely, as an alchemist, he was looking, for the Philosopher's Stone. He was looking for the elixir for life, and he was doing it through black magic. And with a portal to hell in there, that would make it a lot easier. Luckily, that didn't happen. So in the 18th century, the castle gets remodeled again, and this time it's a Renaissance chateau. This was during the communist period, and it just all fell into disrepair. Didn't do anything for anyone. In 1836, and this one freaks me out. In 1836, during a walking tour of the region, Czech poet Karel Hynek Mácha spent the night at Houska Castle, and he had some very vivid dreams that scared him to death. He said something from the pit dragged him down in it. And when he came out of the darkness, he was in Prague in 2006. He said he wandered in horror and despair at what it had become, and he wrote that he met a girl who showed him moving pictures in a small casket, like a cell phone. He was even able to describe the housing developments on the outskirts of the city. He said that there were holes that projected this yellow light. Well, yeah, those are houses and street lights and things like that, but he didn't know what it was. So I thought that was really interesting. Oh, that sounded... Anyway, now we get to the interesting part, right? Huska was occupied by Nazi SS during the Second World War. Nobody today knows what they were doing because in true Nazi form, they burned all their information and research, so nobody would see it but them.
I mean, it's a high point where, and you have a view of a lot from here. Like, I mean, I could see it being an advantage to having that location.
You just have to worry about getting trade to them, getting them foods and stuff like that. But yeah, and we know that the Nazis did a lot of looking into the paranormal and the supernatural, and just underpinning Heinrich Himmler's philosophies on this. So everybody assumes that, yeah, they were there mainly for occult reasons because there was no strategic value to holding the castle. But we all know how the Nazis do things, and it got supernatural in there. They also believe that Huska was used for a period of time as a breeding ground for the new Nazis. I don't know if you remember or have heard about that, where they would take very Aryan women and impregnate them by very Aryan SS soldiers, trying to create this new Hitler race. Yeah. And part of that went on here as well. Yeah. Today, they have went through and they've removed all of the landmines from around the castle. But they're unable to let anybody explore the pit because the Nazis have lined it with explosive ordnance. They're afraid if anybody tries to go down there and take a look, they're just going to blow up the whole castle. Perfect. That would be the man that did it right there.
We have a picture of the actual person that did it. Oh, okay. Okay, good.
that would be the bad Nazi that does it all. That's who I associate it with.
Yep.
So even beside that, today, people who go to the castle, they have nightmares. They hear sounds, screaming, chanting. People can go into the chapel and hear scratching under the chapel floor. They hear noises that come from it. And you either avoid the place like the plague because you just can't stand to be there, or you have horribly bad luck after you leave the premises. Enough that people associated it with that place. There's a group, Hannah McGee and her husband Tyler actually run tours through Huska, and they've had so many bad experiences. Their dog Bobo will not go inside the gates, won't have anything to do with it. They feel like they're being watched all the time, but it's fight or flight, like a predator's watching you. It puts you in that mode. They even, for some weird reason, find tons of dead birds in the courtyard of the castle. No one can figure out why they're dying, but each day there's more dead birds in that courtyard. So today you have tons of people that visit. Some of them visit it for the portal to hell. Others believe that Huska was built using sacred geometry and that an answer will lie in that. And then you got UFOs, you got people trying to catch ghosts. They try everything out here. The ones that can stay, at least.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
See, I don't have any video evidence with this one because everybody wants to give a history of the castle and they want to show you the pictures and whatnot because the story in itself is really scary.
Yeah.
Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Josh Gates, everybody's been there. Everybody's found evidence. So be sure to check those out because they're really good shows.
Okay. We did put the question to the audience, and as expected, I should not have given them the third option. Because that's the one that's winning, of course.
Yeah.
Something else. So we might have to run another poll. I'm gonna let this run for a second. Give you a few more seconds here.
What else would it be?
Yeah, I'm curious. So tell us in chat what else you think it would be. And while you guys are typing that up, I'm going to end the poll. And actually, I'm going to add some information to Christy's story. We actually have a photo of the hole with the resurrected animals and that reverse aged man that happened.
Mm-hmm.
A real photo from the time period.
That looks so much happier than it really is.
He's about to die. He's just smiling because he's seeing his life flash before his eyes. Now, the animals are happy that they came back to life. And they're look at this cat. That cat is super happy.
With his little dragon friend back there.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon, evil, pit.
Okay. Let's see. What are they saying in chat here? Let's see here.
Oh, yeah. Definitely Autumn Falls.
Supernatural won, though. Well, between those two choices, I guess it did. Let's see. Yeah, no one's giving any explanations. They just wanted the something.
They're like, I don't know what it is, but it's something else. I don't know what it is, but it freaks me out that this thing has been like that for 2,000 years that we know of, because it was just the 6th century that they started reporting before anything was ever built there.
Chris is pointing out possibly there's some weird chemicals floating around. But I picked supernatural. I want one person that wrote something else. Tell me. Chris Donovan says, I said it's a standard defensive castle. Okay. Autumn
but
Falls
why would
saying
the defenses be built inward?
Could be an old defensive structure with lots of bad memories from Nazis. Well, here's what I think about that. It could be like that design would be, someone that's attacking would think that they have gained access as they go in there, and then that courtyard is them. They're dead.
That's
like
where
as soon
they're
as
caught.
they get in. Yeah. I mean, it's a kill box essentially. That's interesting. And I'm thinking about just the design in terms of having that design, like having birds that get caught down there.
Well, I wondered about that too, but it's so open. I don't see how they could.
Yeah, but I don't know how much kind of vertical lift a bird would have. Like they kind of need distance to travel to get their height going, and once they get in there, they might be screwed. I don't know. Well, we got to hold to the rules of the show. So between the two answers that are between this one, I have no choice. You guys did, you 47% that voted for something else. You did this.
They're happy with their choice.
I hope so.
Look at that guy.
I mean, I provided photographic evidence. It is indeed paranormal.
It is.
Congratulations,
Kristen. I
Kristen.
knew even without video, this one would get everybody. I mean,
you don't need video. We have this.
That's true. We have the actual picture.
Come on. And look how much better it is than these. Look at, scratchy cave drawing, blah, blah, blah. No. We have this and this. We've proven it.
It's always the Nazis.
Christy, thank you as always for your hard work. Where can people send suggestions if they have suggestions for you?
Well, you can find me on X at Ghost of Christy, or you can email me at paranormalpurse@gmail.com. And I had 2 suggestions this week that we'll be covering.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you guys for sending those in. And if you have other ideas, you can drop them in the comments down below. And even if you didn't get to vote here in the live stream, which you could be a part of the live stream if you showed up on Friday afternoon, hint, hint, hint. You can tell us about it in the comments down below as well. And if you're new to the channel or new to the show, because we seem to be having a bump that's happening right now, welcome. We're so happy to have you here, and we hope that you come back and join us for another episode. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. We will see you on the other side.